My ex-wife, she got half my business. It's crazy, but that's how I ended up rebuilding my whole life and leaving her with nothing. You'll be broke in a year, she sneered when we settled. I just smiled and played along. 6 months later, her lawyer was calling, freaking out. It all started 12 years ago. I built a little custom furniture business from scratch, just me, some sawdust, and a whole lot of grit. Learned it all from my grandpa in his workshop. Then I met Diana at a farmer's market. She was 36, sharp as a tack, driven, and knew marketing inside and out. 8 years ago, we got hitched. Seemed like a perfect match back then. The first 5 years were great. Diana was a game changer for my little operation. Suddenly, I had a website, social media, the whole 9 yards. My furniture shop became a local favorite. We even opened a small showroom, hired a couple of guys, and finally started making real money. Nothing extravagant, but we were comfortable. I did the designing and building. She handled the business side. I trusted her completely. Then, things went south. It started small, with Diana complaining about our cramped showroom, saying she was underutilized. She'd compare our income to her friends from college, the ones with those fancy corporate gigs. Then came the digs, the little jabs about how she could be making 6 figures if she wasn't stuck with my little hobby. I was pulling 60-plus-hour weeks, trying to make things grow faster, taking on more and more custom orders, totally stressed out. It was all about boosting profits, you know? Nothing was ever enough. The woman who used to be so into my craft now just called it making expensive chairs and tables. The breaking point was when I discovered she had stashed money away in a secret account. It wasn't illegal, since we lived in a community property state, but it was definitely sneaky. When I found out, there was almost 17 grand hidden away. When I brought it up, she didn't even try to deny it. Insurance, she said. Insurance. For what? Against the day your business crashed and burned, I guess. She just looked at me like I was an idiot and said that small businesses like mine never last. That night, I crashed out in my workshop. 2 days later, she told me she wanted a divorce. No talk about working things out, no mention of therapy, just over. She claimed she'd outgrown me and what I did. I was totally shocked, crushed. And then the worst part happened. Because she'd been involved in the business for a while, her lawyer argued she deserved half, not just half of the stuff we owned together, but half of my company. The settlement talks were brutal. Her lawyer, this real jerk named Wesley Price, showed spreadsheets proving how Diana's marketing had turned my passion into a real business. It didn't matter that I'd been building furniture for years before I even met her. The judge seemed to agree with her side. When the final settlement details were announced, I felt sick. She got the house, half my savings, and a 50% stake in my furniture business. It all went down when we were signing the papers. Diana, she had this really irritating smirk on her face and said, "You'll be broke in a year without me. Nobody wants handmade stuff anymore." Her lawyer actually laughed. I just kind of smiled and played along. Let them think what they wanted, I figured. What Diana didn't get was, yeah, she knew how to sell things, but I knew how to build them. And I knew my customers not as numbers, but as real people. People who'd ordered furniture for weddings, for anniversaries, for new babies. People who didn't want some cheap, mass-produced junk. The day after I signed, I got my half of the money out of our business account. I checked with my lawyer first, just to be sure I was only taking what was rightfully mine. Then I called Crin and Dom, the 2 guys I'd trained, explained what happened, and made them a deal. After that, I gave the landlord a call about the showroom lease. Diana texted me a million times that night, freaking out about the business account, where all the furniture was. I didn't even bother answering. Let her stew. The next morning, I filed the paperwork to start my own company, named it after my grandpa who taught me everything, and found a smaller place across town. Rent was way cheaper, and I even got a small business loan, using my tools as collateral. That was the clever part, you know. Our old business was still technically there. Diana still owned half of it. But the showroom was empty, the guys were gone, the website was dead. She owned half of absolutely nothing. It was crazy, but within a week, I'd reached out to every single client who had an order pending. I explained that things were changing with my business, but I was absolutely committed to fulfilling every order through my new setup. Nobody canceled. Actually, most folks were really supportive when I kind of hinted at the divorce being a mess. Honestly, I've been busting my hump for the last 6 months, working 15-hour days every single day. My new workshop's smaller than what we had before, but my expenses are way lower, and I'm finally calling the shots. Quinn and Dom stuck with me, even agreeing to a little less pay for now, because I promised them a share of the profits once things level out. They've been lifesavers. Then, yesterday, Price called. Apparently, Diana's freaking out because the money she put into our old business isn't giving her any return. She's saying I have to give back all the business stuff and is threatening to sue me. I talked to my new lawyer way cheaper, specializes in small businesses, and he explained that I haven't broken our agreement at all. The old business is still there. She owns half of nothing, basically. There's nothing that says I can't start a new business or that I have to keep working at the old one. Price sounded really stressed. Turns out Diana was relying on that business money. She got herself a fancy new car and a pricey apartment, figuring she'd be getting regular payments, which obviously isn't happening. And get this, some of our old customers have been calling her about their furniture. She's sending people my way because she doesn't have a choice, really. I don't want to get even or anything. All I want is to create cool stuff and make a living. But I won't lie, it feels good to know the business she laughed off as a side project is actually doing really well without her. While her insurance cash is probably dwindling, my workshop just smells of wood and opportunity. Yesterday, I dropped off a walnut dining table to this young couple who saved up for a year to get it. The look on their faces when they saw it made everything totally worth it. I'm rebuilding one piece at a time, just like my furniture. Update 12 months later. Wow, didn't see this post taking off like it did. Thanks for all the encouragement and tips. So much has happened since I last wrote. First off, Diana didn't stop calling. After her lawyer's failed attempt to scare me, she just showed up at my new workshop unannounced. She found me putting the finish on a credenza. Luckily, I didn't mess up the coat when she startled me. She looked different, still in her designer clothes, but that cocky smirk was gone. She just seemed stressed and honestly a little desperate. She started with small talk, complimenting the new space, then quickly got around to we should talk about the business. I just kept working while she went on. She actually suggested we join forces again because we were such a good match. She said she'd messed up by letting feelings run her business choices. I almost busted out laughing. It wasn't about missing me, I could tell. Her favorite beat-up sleep bag looked extra ratty, and I saw her fancy watch was missing. When I didn't immediately jump at whatever she wanted, she changed gears. Suddenly, she was picking apart my new business, pointing out all the marketing things I was doing wrong. She said my website looked cheesy, and it was, designed by Quinn's college kid who was learning web design. Nothing fancy, but it worked. My social media was all over the place because I only posted when I had a free moment, actually building furniture. And my pricing was all wrong too. It was based on how much the materials cost, how long it took, and what people around here could afford. I wasn't trying to squeeze every last penny. You need me, she practically demanded. This place could be making 3 times the money with the right marketing. I finally put down my tools and just looked at her. Diana, I'm bringing home more money now than when we were together. Less money coming in, way less going out, higher profit. Her face did this weird little tick. That's impossible, she said. Your showroom is half the size, rents a third of what we were paying. No expensive displays, no fancy lighting you had to have, no cappuccino machine nobody ever used. Just a workshop where people can see the furniture being built. She hated that. She started raising her voice, saying I was being small-minded and killing my own potential. That's when Dom walked in with lunch for us, and he just froze when he saw Diana. He's normally a pretty quiet guy, but he gave me this look like, "Do you need help?" I gave a little shake of my head and he backed off. Diana saw what happened and it was like a light bulb went off. They all came with you, she said, real flat. Quinn and Dominic? Yeah, I said, and most of the clients. She got quiet then, just staring around the workshop at all the half-finished stuff, proof we were doing okay without her. Finally, she just blurted out, "You planned this." I shrugged. I adapted. That's what small businesses do. She left after that, but not before letting me know this wasn't over. Classic Diana, always needing the last word. 3 days later, I got a fancy letter from Price demanding all my financial records. Apparently, Diana thought she was entitled to that stuff, saying it was somehow connected to her old share of the business. My lawyer sent back a letter that was all legal speak, but basically said, "No way, Jose. Separate business, different rules. We didn't owe her anything." What Diana doesn't know is that last month was our best one yet. People are spreading the word. bringing in a steady stream of orders. And I've started working with a local metal guy on some cool mixed media pieces. A boutique hotel developer is even interested. It's nothing crazy, but it's solid. The kind of slow, steady growth she always scoffed at. The best part? Last week, I got a call from Brandon Teller. You know, the guy who owns that fancy furniture store downtown? The one Diana always tried to get us into. They sell luxury stuff, all imported from Italy, with insane prices. Diana apparently kept bugging him about selling her stuff, acting like she was still involved in the business. He wasn't fooled, it piqued his interest, he looked me up, and now he wants to showcase my work. It's a commission deal, but the exposure is amazing. The irony isn't lost on me, either. I also heard, from some friends we share, that Diana had to get a marketing job at a local company. Good pay, but not nearly what she thought she'd earn from her share of the business. She's been griping to anyone who will listen about how I screwed her over. I'm just plugging away, building one piece at a time. The business is growing slowly, maybe not as fast as it could with a big advertising push, but steadily. I have no debt except my small business loan, and I'm ahead on the payments. Sometimes, I think about how we used to be in the beginning, before money and status consumed her. Then I remember how quiet the workshop is without constant pressure to expand or make tons of cash. Next week, I'm giving a rocking chair to a mom-to-be who wants a place to nurse, and something her kid can have one day. That's what I care about. I'll let you know if something big happens, but honestly, I'm hoping things just calm down so I can just focus on wood and building instead of all the legal stuff and the drama. Okay, so it's been 2 years since my first update, and 6 months since the divorce was finally done, and wow, what a trip it's been. I haven't been around here much lately because I've been swamped, but I gotta tell you about some pretty big stuff that's been happening. First off, remember that little boutique hotel project I mentioned? Well, that blew up way bigger than I ever imagined. The developer loved the first few pieces we did and then ordered all the furniture for the lobby and restaurant. Seriously, the biggest single order I've ever gotten. I had to hire 2 extra woodworkers just to get it all done in time. The installation ended up being featured in a local design magazine, which brought in a bunch of new commercial work. Not everything worked out, but enough did that I had to think about how I wanted to grow my business. This time, I was all about quality and craftsmanship, not just the money. And then, about 3 months ago, I got served with actual lawsuit papers. Diana was suing me, saying I messed up the old company on purpose to cheat her out of money. My lawyer wasn't worried, said it was more of a last-ditch effort than a real threat. Diana would have to prove I did stuff specifically to wreck our old business, and not just that I started a new, separate one. Still, dealing with it took me away from my shop, which really ticked me off. The real turning point came during the depositions. My lawyer made me go over and over how I started my business, trying to make it look like I'd plotted the whole thing. I told the truth, the whole truth. I hadn't planned a thing until Diana showed me how little she cared about the business, only the money. Then they brought Quinn in, figuring he'd say I'd stolen him away. But he just calmly explained why he'd left Diana treated those guys like robots, you know? He said she was all about cutting corners and squeezing every last penny, even if it meant ruining the quality. He also said she was shipping the work overseas to make more profit. He followed me because, and I quote, he respects the work. It was ridiculous. She wanted $85,000 for half a business that was basically nothing but a dream. My offer, $2,500. That's what it's worth, no real stuff, no employees, no customers, nothing. This morning, I got the papers. Signed. It's done. I own my business again, 100%. I'll still run my new company too, though. The new name feels perfect. Then, this afternoon weirdest thing. I was at the bank, sorting out my business account, and who do I see? Jeremy, Diana's older brother. We were never close, but he was always all right to me. He kind of hesitated, then came over. He mumbled something about the lawsuit ending. I just nodded, not knowing what to say. Then he said, "Look, this isn't the first time she's done this." Growing up, Diana always grabbed the biggest share of everything, you know? She hogged our parents' attention, took all the credit for our school, projects, the whole 9 yards. He was telling me this out of the blue. I couldn't figure it out, but he clearly needed to get it off his chest. Then he blurted out that she's moving to Chicago next month. Landed some fancy marketing job, apparently. He said it was a huge promotion, but his voice just trailed off. I finished his thought for him. She needs to run from her reputation around here. He just nodded. He actually saw the hotel installation I did. Said it was gorgeous. That small compliment from her brother, it felt like the final chapter in a really long, tough book. So here I am, 6 months later. I thought my business, heck, my whole life was toast. But things are better now than they ever were with the old company. I mean, maybe not as much money rolling in, but it's way more stable, and I'm way happier. I'm more careful about how I expand, focusing on what really matters to me, not some dumb numbers on a spreadsheet. I've got 4 full-time people working for me now, including Quinn and Dom, my guys who stuck with me through the thick of it. The workshop's buzzing, saws whirring, Sanders screaming, and everyone actually cares about their work. Last week, I had dinner with Quinn's family. His son, the one who built our website, was there too. The kid's starting his own little web design business for local places, and he asked me for advice on setting things up right and protecting himself legally. It was weird, being the one giving advice for a change, but it felt right to share what I'd been through. Diana told me I'd be broke in a year. Boy, was she ever off. The business is booming, and even better, I'm actually doing okay. There's something amazing about starting over and making things happen your own way. On a personal level, well, I'm still single, still trying to figure that whole thing out. But the workshop is filled with the smell of fresh wood and the feeling that anything is possible. And honestly, that's all I need right now.